Of course, now we're joined in the studio by Ozo Igbonekwu Ogazimorah, Editor-in-Chief, SBSGreat Interviews and Attorney at Law, as well as former Commissioner for Information in Enugu State. Ozo Ogazimorah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you've seen it all. You've seen the court proceedings that have started. And we've also seen another video that has been going viral on social media showing Obieze, the prime suspect, smiling in the courtroom. I mean, if it plays long enough, you'll see him smiling. I'm not sure what kind of smile that is, but he doesn't seem the least perturbed by the 7-count charge brought before him alongside 2 other suspects, which they pleaded not guilty. What's your reaction to the ongoing proceedings?
Okay, thank you very much. It's curious, actually amusing that you people are worried about his smiles. I also read it online. People said he was smiling. That smile may be just bravado, right? Not the texture of the man. Somebody caught in the web. Possibly you can see he has no other way out. So he will put up a smile.
It could actually be a smile of defeat. Do they smile when you are defeated?
It may be that smile of defeat. It may be just,
finally,
thinking, for people like that who ordinarily believe in some powers, it may be thinking that somehow something would act, would intervene. But then that is not enough to judge him. To me, I think it's just a kind of a bravado. That's all. And then arraigning him is proper, even though it was delayed. He was supposed to be arraigned, according to the law, within 48 hours. But then in this circumstance, there may be the need for longer delay. What was proper or better would have been to arraign him and still hold him, get the order of court to detain him. Because detaining him beyond that 48 hours looks like illegal detention. It's now wrongful incarceration. But then, Nigerian police, but at least we started moving. So that movement is necessary at this moment. And credit goes more to the online activists who started asking questions about a week why he was not arraigned.
What could actually be the reason why he was arraigned? He was detained for that long without being arraigned.
The
investigation that was going on, they want to get a proper investigation, or as you stated, too good that some influencer started crying out louder, "Hey, where is this guy? Are they about to sweep his case under the rug as usual?"
Yes, that curiosity of the influencers was necessary. It was good because in reality, he was not supposed to be detained beyond 48 hours, working days. And he was detained beyond that. What the police would have done was to arraign him with whatever shred of evidence they have. They arraign him and now get order of court to detain him. In which case you now say he's detained following the rule of law. By holding him for 2 months by the police was not proper.
Does he have a case?
Sorry?
Does he have a case now?
Does he have a case?
Yeah, for being detained for that long.
Yes, he may have a case, but then it is a case without root because of the gravity, the notoriety of that alleged offense. Makes it very, very difficult for him to express that case. If you watch, I watched one of the clips during his arraignment, and the police was shouting at him, telling him, "Are you not even happy that you are still breathing?
Yeah.
You are walking around," right? That is to say, police is telling him, what you did was so grievous that you are not even supposed to be alive, right?
And
so when somebody is trapped that way, you know that whatever he sees, the person has to take it.
Right. Now we're seeing the suspect, the prime suspect, and two other suspects, they pleaded not guilty to the 7-count charges brought before them. 7-count charge. We're seeing charges including conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and of course we've arranged a nice infographic for our viewers to also look at as we go through them. Conspiracy to commit kidnapping of one Ukamaka who was 13 years old. We're also seeing another charge, kidnapping of Chimaobi Eze, 15 years old. We're seeing, so many other charges, kidnapping of Joy Miracle Udokama, other charges including murder of Chimaobi Eze. We're seeing conspiracies coming, but so these charges border on kidnapping, conspiracy, killing. These are huge charges brought before the defendants, but they've pleaded not guilty. What could have motivated this despite the evidence before the court?
Okay. Well, there's no evidence yet before the court. That is one fact. The evidence will eventually come to the court. But pleading not guilty is normal. In criminal trial, even if he had said, especially this high degree of offense, even if he had pleaded guilty, the court would have recorded him not guilty. That not guilty means placing the burden of proof on the prosecution. That is, it is now for the prosecution to prove that in reality, kidnapping, killing, ritual had taken place. Secondly, he did it. So it is not guesswork. It is the law that you have to prove it. Even if he chooses not to say a word in that court, the onus is on the prosecution to prove that he did what it is ascertain. That prosecution is ascertain that he did this. Mm-hmm. The prosecution will have to prove that actually something happened and that he did it. So that his prayer is not out of place.
In terms of the fact that we saw this case being referred to a higher court, being referred to as such capital offenses.
Yeah.
Why, one would ask, why then was the case taken to the magistrate's court only to be asked to go? I'm sure they knew that it was going to be too high for the court to handle. Or is that part of the legal proceeding? Should the court be the one to determine what next?
Yeah, you see, in the first place, our criminal procedure here provides that such high degree of offense will have to be considered by the Office of Attorney General. That is the DPP, Director of Public Prosecution. The file will now be taken from the court to the DPP. And the DPP will conduct its own search, make its own inquiries, come up with analysis, and possibly they may even change the charges. They may even raise it higher. They may even take it down. At the end of the day, it is the DPP that will decide which court it goes. So it is in order to charge him to the magistrate court because possibly the investigation is not yet through. And the opinion of the Attorney General is not just necessary, it is germane. Right. You can't do without it. So it must be there. And you see, when in criminal trials, there is something many people, of course, if the person who is not a lawyer may not know, there is what we call the mens rea and the actus rea. That the mens rea, that is the mind. What did the mind plan? And what were the actions taken and who took the actions? So in criminal trial, the plan of the mind must meet the action of the perpetrator.
What could have been the plan of the mind?
A good question. You see, for somebody to be killed, somebody had to sit down and plan it, right? And he may do it alone, he may do it with some other persons. That is, now you are now bringing in conspiracy, which is part of the charge. So, conspiracy, they conspired to commit murder, to kill. You have conspired to do something that will lead to grievous harm. that will lead to murder. These are two different things. You must have known that by doing this, it is going to inflict this level of harm on a person. And this level of harm can and usually lead to death. So, that is, you are not talking about murder, which is against manslaughter, where killing is not intended, but it happened. And your actions cannot suggest you have planned to kill, right? If you are having a confrontation with somebody and you go for the cutlass, you cannot claim you didn't know it can lead to death, because you know that a blow of cutlass can send a person to his grave. So you can no longer plead that you didn't intend it. But when you are ordinarily disagreeing and you are attacked and you are forced to defend yourself, and in the process somebody dies, you can plead that it wasn't intended.
Do you believe in the power of rituals?
In the power of
Rituals.
Also.
rituals.
Yeah.
Do you believe in those?
Personally, I do
physical.
not believe in it. Personally, I do not believe in it. To me, I think people are just being wasted in the name of rituals. Because if you believe in rituals, you cannot begin to imagine the number of persons Dangote would have killed before he became a billionaire. The number of persons Arthur would have killed before he became a billionaire. So, in the people, is the superstition. People are just believing what is useless, and they are killing people for that. If it is what gets people money, a lot of those ritualists would have been stupendously rich. That is the fact.
But looking at this case, right, because apparently the motives, or whatever that propelled whatever that led to the kidnap, the murder, and all that, the metaphysics right now, it brings to the personal and cultural belief in the court. So how do judges, lawyers, jurors, attack a case like this, knowing fully well the motive is something like a belief, something someone believed in, the metaphysics, right? I could actually propel and have led the person doing what he or she did.
Okay. I like this. It is good people get to understand that ritual killing is not part of Igbo culture. That is the truth. It has never been part of Igbo culture. Even before the coming of colonial administration, it wasn't, people were not killing people in order to be rich. People were not killing people in order to be bigger than others. The fact is that it is alien to kill people, take the parts, and claim that you are looking for money. That is the reality. Then you mentioned this, you now brought in this, how does the court look at it? You see, the reality is this. There are things that we say that are repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, even if it is culture, right? The repugnancy test must come in every way. Is it proper to do that, to deprive a person of his life in the name of looking for money? That is repugnant. It is rejected. It is not acceptable as any part of civilization. So the court looks at that repugnance, the result of the repugnancy test. I'll give you an example. Before, women were marrying women, raising children, and those children were considered parts of the family, parts of inheritance. But recently, the court ruled that it is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. A woman cannot marry a woman because a woman cannot impregnate another woman and get children. So such practice, the Supreme Court ruled, is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. So it is being discarded. Also, it was previously held that women were not part of inheritance in Igbo land. But recently, in two major cases, landmark cases, Ukeje against Ukeje and Mojeku against Mojeku, the Supreme Court ruled that it is repugnant to natural justice to deprive a woman of inheritance, because that woman is also a child of the man, is a human being, is deserving of the property, she hungers for food, for materials, for other things which the man hungers for. So why would you deprive her on the basis of sex? And the Supreme Court said this is against Section 42, subsection 2, which says there should be no discrimination against a child or a person based on the circumstances of birth. Circumstances of birth, the gender, whether the person is a woman or a man or a cripple or a deaf or a blind, that is not enough reason to deprive that person. I'm going this far to illustrate what you brought up about why the court would, what would be the court attitude to,
the belief system,
to culture, the belief system. And whatever is your belief system, that system must go through the repugnancy test. And in this case, it is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience to take another person's life.
Actually asked you a question of, is ritual powers real, right? Okay, we saw Anambra State government go rampage on some, doctors, native doctors, right? But that brings me to asking you the question about the anomalies in the society. As you answered the question that people actually believe in these things, but they're not real. But how do we now project that information out there? Because they talk about Okite, they talk about this, and they went digital. People were seeing it on digital platforms, right? It went that viral, right? So you see young people indulging in such acts. You get. So now, how do you balance out this situation, trying to get people to understand that this is, as you stated, these metaphysical powers are not real?
Well, Oji, just let's not be too quick, all right? Now, it's a very important question that you've raised, obviously, but I don't think Ozo is trying to say metaphysical powers are not real. But what I'm more interested
ritual,
in, I'm
talking into the ritual part of the kidnapping, selling of human parts, murder and all that stuff, right?
I think we need to have a distinction between, ritual and culture. What is there any part of this metaphysical powers, if you believe they are real, that isn't dangerous? Because rituals involve killing, taking lives, doing bloodshed to get things done in many cases, or okite and all of that. But I mean, because we're seeing people like Obieze, are we now discrediting the people that perhaps use their powers? Use their powers for other things. Also, could you help us demystify the concept of rituals versus other cultural things that are spiritual, spiritualism and rituals? What's the point of departure?
Well, that thing you call ritual, when you say ritual, it is assumed you are talking about the obnoxious ritual, because there are rituals that are proper. The ritual, for you to get up every morning and pray to God, and you consistently do that, it becomes a ritual, right? For you to go to church every 6 a.m. is a ritual. For you to eat this kind of food or say this kind of a thing consistently, it becomes a ritual. Now, when you now look at the other ritual, where somebody now performs certain things and says it is for him to make money, I do not believe in it, and the law says it is criminality. So there's no way he holds water anywhere. But in your exchange, there was this word you people use, organs, harvesting, taking organs and the rest of them. Let me tell you, Some of the taking of organs are not ritual. They are actually sold.
Commercial.
Yes, the people who are killed and their kidneys harvested and sold to be used on a living person. Livers harvested to be sold. That's a different thing. But when it now means you are using it to worship an oracle, or you put together certain things and say that is it has become a god, it is going to give you money. Personally, I do not believe in it, and the law says it is criminal. So I do not even see any point anybody arguing it. I have some understanding of Igbo culture. I know it is not Igbo culture. It is actually imported. It was not there in the last 60, 70 years. Even post-colonialism, it was not there. But then it has come, and what the government in Anambra State is doing is the government is not necessarily interfering with people's system of worship. It is asking for control. That do it, let it be apparent, or let it be objective. Let us see what we are doing, right? You remember the challenge he threw at some of them.
Yeah.
He said, if you have the power you claim you have, come out, disappear from the prison, right? You are claiming that you disappear, you concoct something and give to a young man. And you tell the young man that if you are carrying cocaine, if you touch yourself or you do something, you will disappear, or that the cocaine will not be seen. And he lamented that people, so many Igbos in their thousands, are in jails in Malaysia, in Asia, in other parts of the world.
Right.
Because they believed it. That is the reason for the government intervention.
Now, bringing it back to Enugu, it's not just in Anambra State that some regulation is in place. I've also seen Enugu State set up the proposed legislation entitled Maintenance of Internal Security, Vigilance and Order. And this happened in the wake of this incident concerning Obieze and what he did in Ezago. Now, let's come back to the case at hand here, the suspected ritualist. Do you think Obieze believes in the power of his own spirituality or his own ritual? Do you think he believes in what he does? Because we saw the suspected ritualist in handcuffs and chains. Why didn't he just vanish?
That was exactly Obiano Solodo's argument, right? They were deceiving people.
Do you think he's deceiving people?
Yes.
This individual?
They were deceiving people.
Let's put this in perspective, because this individual was said to be called by a deity. So we should, apparently these are the reasons why everything is happening, and we should also, make this viable, this information, that anything he's doing, the reason why we're bringing all this ritual, cultural, and all that is tagged to him being somebody that they said is being called to come and serve or worship, be a priest to a deity that could propel him now doing whatever he's doing. And as stated, he controls almost all the youths in that community. So I just want to put it out there.
You see, he may believe in it. Indeed, he believed in it. But it is also a platform for deception, which is against state policy. You see, in law, it is held that whatever you do which takes away the loyalty of the citizens is against state policy. Whatever you do which is in promotion of fraud is against public policy. Whatever you do which involves deprivation of a person's freedom, a person's life, a person's property, it is against public policy. So, in the case of the man, they said he was controlling youth. That is the point. It is the duty of government to step in to halt the wrongful indoctrination of the youth. Youths were being improperly indoctrinated. Youths were being made not to work hard anymore. Youth were being made not to believe, not to accept that the life runs a process, that you start from this process, you pass your exams, or you train in a skill, and you graduate, and you start, and you begin to grow. And then at a certain stage, if you had done your work very well, you would have made a success of your life. So, a situation where somebody who did not even complete secondary school wants to be as rich as Atoeze, for you have no skill, you have no education, you are not selling any product, you are not selling any services. Such indoctrination ought to be controlled, indeed stopped by the state.
When he was apprehended at the Seme border while trying to flee, he said he was a businessman. He did not come out and say he was a ritualist, or, native doctors have come out in the community to deny him, by the way, in events leading up to this. So the question I have now is, if the powers are not real, if it's true, if it's possible that he's deceiving people, then what explains the mansion he lived in that was demolished in the wake of all of this? What explains the wealth? Is he really a businessman, as he claimed?
Yeah. You see, I think as a lawyer, I would say that I have a limited understanding of the whole thing. But what I have picked online, he was doing so many things. He was possibly selling human organs, which is lucrative, right? An illegal business that is lucrative. Those people he was killing, he may have an expert somewhere who comes to harvest the kidneys, the livers, the heart, and the rest of them. And he was making money from that. And one of the suspects who was arrested that same day also gave an account of how they formed a club called Nderi Atwegu. And for you to join, you had to pay so amount to join. These were all sources of income for him. He may have been deceiving people, asking them to pay him money to do this for them. Like those guys in Anambra State who were asking people to pay this money. You pay 10 million for them to concoct something and give you, and make you to believe that if you get to Malaysia, Taiwan, whatever, you will carry cocaine, whatever quantity you like. And once you chant some incantation, nobody will see it. Even the machines, the technology will not see it. And they are being caught, right? You can see the misleading practice. And you begin to ask, what is the government doing that its youths are being ruined by somebody who is just out there to make money? It's good to make money, but you cannot make money at the expense of the society. You cannot make money in ruination of the entire state. You can see the extent of damage already done to our youth, our younger persons who believe that reading and passing examination is waste of time, who believe in being an apprentice for 7 years is waste of time. And that it is just a little thing and you graduate to Egombute, you begin to have money. And such a volume of money nobody has ever thought of. You have no skill, you have no service you are selling, you have no product you are selling. You just think that by chanting some incantations, that money will come. And that is what the government is supposed to do, is to come and say, no, you are lying to the people. Because you doing that thing, why are you not that stupendously rich? Why are you collecting money from people to do that? There was a question Obi Kubana asked one day. Why would you go to a native doctor whose children are going to the stream to fetch water? A native doctor that is virtually naked, is not wearing good clothes, is not living in a good house, and you think he will make you a charm or whatever for you to become a millionaire. Why are people easily deceived? That is where the government has to move in.
What must the Enugu State government do now, beyond making an example of Levi, Ichie Million? What must they do now to prevent this from spreading? For some people that are not televised, that are not watching TV, that are probably not checking socials to see what's happening to him, what must be done now in the community? Who must be deployed to stop the youth from going in this direction if they really want to make an impact?
Yeah. The government already has the institutions to do that. It's just that there may be a high level of laxity among the institutions or agencies of government that are supposed to do that. And let me tell you, that man, Obieze or Ichie Million, didn't start that day he was caught. He had been there. He had that horrible reputation, known wide and far. The government did not intervene early. The government may have been restrained because of the law, which says everybody has a right to practice religion. But when complaints keep coming, why would the government wait for it to get to the shock level before it now acts? You know, the shock level where it became so embarrassing. And let me tell you this, every part of Nigeria is still under-policed. You remember who caught him? The local vigilante. So if we have an efficient local vigilance system that will be moving around in the village, that is capable of picking every information in the village, and that will be having the right to orientation to act with speed, act properly, many of these things will go.
That's right.
Something bothers people, right? Because so many evidences were tampered with, you know, burning of his property, you know, his vehicles and all that, right? Does this bring Levi Obieze to having a case in a defense?
Well, you know, these were events or happenings after the act. It is not a defense. That's, if you are talking about defense law, it is not a defense at all. In it, he had to contend with people's anger, people's shock. The people lost it. Some people believed in him, actually, worked with him, only to discover that he didn't have the powers.
A little skeleton in the closet.
Yes, they didn't even know that he had burial chambers in his place. Some of them didn't know. And these were the people who were shocked. It was the shock that led them to that act, not saying that it was justified in demolishing his house or in burning his house before the trial. Yeah. I do not want to buy the idea that it was destroying the evidence. He couldn't have destroyed the evidence. Now, even if he did, there were still enough to charge him to court. That is the situation we have found ourselves, where people act irrationally, and unfortunately, the government has joined in such irrational act. A situation where the government will demolish somebody's house because the act of kidnapping took place there. What if the owner of the house didn't know about it? Why not wait till the end of investigation? Why not wait till the end of trials?
Well, with the number of abandoned buildings lying here and there, one would say that this would stop people from abandoning buildings and leaving them for
unlawful that is happening to your property.
Let's round up this conversation with the heavy hammer. Now, the hammer is waiting to fall heavily on someone's head. If Levi, Ichie Million, if they play the show, Obieze is found guilty of the charges brought before him in whatever court, what then is his fate? Whose head would the hammer hit?
Well, if he is convicted on murder, the law is clear. He will be condemned. That is clear. If there are mitigating factors, that may help him, right? But there may not be. So the law is very strict and clear on it. He's convicted of murder. The price to pay is with his head. So whatever hammer that is coming down is coming on his head. He's coming on the head of his accomplices. So the hammer is not coming for any other head. So he is convicted, he is condemned.
Now, in the
to
case
death.
of the court, we're then talking about the gavel. What kind of thing would come up in the course of this case, possibly, that would make that hammer fall heavily?
Well, you know, at the moment, we cannot discuss the trial, right? It's already in court. So we must be restrained. There are certain things one can say, but then you won't say it so that you do not begin to interfere, which may be interpreted as contempt
That's right.
of court.
But then we heard some police officers outside saying that he's lucky to be, let's say,
breathe in.
suspected people outside, police officers saying that he's lucky to still be breathing and
yeah.
even...
Yeah, the police was right, because if he was caught, if he was caught at that point where people were demolishing his house, he would have been dead.
Lynched, yeah.
That's right. Well, I mean, you can interpret it that way. That's very true. Very true. So, you know, let's also round up again this way. Sorry, this wrapper is twofold. Okay, we've tied the first one. Now the second one before we go for August meeting.
No.
There are people who have been impacted by this. The woman who was found in the house had a family, her children watching all of this. The real victims, people left behind. What can be done now to ameliorate their suffering? What can the authorities do to make this a lesser burden on them?
Woman found in, you mean the wife?
Yes, the families of the people, the victims of this
victims.
crime.
Yeah.
The
Well,
families of
you
the
see, that is
victims.
why I said we must be limited in how we discuss it. What if in the process of trial, the wife is discovered to be an accomplice? Because there are certain things...
But even if that's the case, she had a family. I mean, they're mourning her. They have to bury their mother. Days, months, weeks after she was found, or after this, she actually died.
Do you mean the
The
victim?
community,
yeah.
the whole community, the
Yeah.
family, the people who are left behind.
Yeah. It is a combination of trauma and guilt. You see, something cannot be going on in the community without people knowing. And when you refuse to act when you know, you cannot really justifiably claim that you are traumatized. Some people knew, they did nothing. Some people knew, they collaborated. Some people knew, they sat back. Some people knew, they felt it was not me, it cannot get to me. No, the position of the law is that if you see a crime, you have to report it.
That's right.
Did they report it?
That's right.
The person they reported to, what did he do? So that is bringing in too much of sentiment when we begin to think of people he left behind. I'm talking of adults. I'm not talking of children. People he left behind who knew he was committing atrocities and they did nothing. So they do not have, that's if they know. I'm talking of those who know. If they knew and they kept quiet, I'm not exactly sympathetic.
All right. Thank you so much, Ozo. As a law-abiding media channel, we'll leave it at this so that we do not go into the trial. Thank you once again for bringing
Thank you very
expertise
much.
to the
Thank you
program
very much.
today.